example worth following in life and leadership. Picture this. You're in a boardroom. A heated discussion is unfolding, and you've got the power to silence the room with a single word. Everyone's watching to see what you'll do. Do you assert your authority, flex your position, and demand respect? Or do you choose humility that disarms, serves, and unites? That tension between power and humility is where Philippians 2:5 calls us to live. Your attitude should be the same as that of Christ Jesus. Jesus had every right to hold on to privilege. He was God. Yet he released his rights, stepped down into humanity, and endured rejection, suffering, and even death. He did this not because he had to, but because love required it. That is the model Paul lays before us, a way of thinking that rewrites what leadership, influence, and success look like. The countercultural power of humility. In Roman Philippi, where honor and hierarchy defined worth, Paul's call to humility was radical. In today's business climate, it is just as disruptive. We are told to brand ourselves louder, chase titles, and defend every inch of recognition. But humility flips the script. It says the measure of greatness is not in how much you gain, but in how much you give. Think of it like a leader who owns the corner office, but spends time on the floor with their team, listening, learning, and serving. That choice does not erase their authority. It amplifies their influence. Jesus shows us that humility is not weakness. It is strength under the control of love. It is not about thinking less of yourself. It is about thinking of others more often. Humility builds trust in ways pride never can. And in both relationships and business, trust is the real currency of flourishing. The mindset shift that changes everything. The Greek word Paul uses for mindset, phronio, does not just mean thoughts. It means orientation, posture, a lens through which you see the world. This is not about having humble moments sprinkled here and there. It is about rewiring your operating system. Cross-references echo the same call. Romans 12:2 urges us to renew our minds. John 13 shows Jesus washing his disciples' feet. John 15 reminds us that love looks like laying down our lives for others. These are not random acts of kindness. They are a pattern of life. So, here is the microscope view. Every time you feel entitled to recognition, every time you are tempted to cling to status, every time you could push someone aside to get ahead, you are standing at a crossroads. One path is the default of pride. The other is the pattern of Christ. The path you choose shapes not just your reputation, but your relationships, your team culture, and even your family. Pride fractures. Love unites. Pride is like a wedge driven into wood. It splits, divides, and isolates. Humility, by contrast, is like glue. It binds, heals, and strengthens under pressure. Paul points to unity as the outcome of Christ-like humility. In business terms, this means teams that put ego aside move faster, innovate better, and weather storms stronger. Relationally, humility creates space for forgiveness and reconciliation. It lets us drop bitterness, as Philippians 2 and John 15 both teach, and move toward one another in love. It is costly because it means giving up the right to hold grudges or keep score. But that cost is nothing compared to the freedom on the other side. In your personal life, humility is the difference between a marriage that survives and one that flourishes. Professionally, it is the difference between a leader who drives compliance and one who inspires commitment. Lessons for the modern leader. Let's get practical. In business, we love systems and KPIs. But the greatest leadership system is mindset. The question is, will yours mirror Christ's? In conflict, choose silence that seeks understanding over words that demand dominance. In recognition, redirect praise to your team instead of hoarding it for yourself. In service, take on tasks that seem beneath your role to model what true leadership looks like. These are not just moral gestures. They are strategic decisions. Humility builds loyalty, service creates culture, and love drives performance. The leader who embodies this mindset does not just manage. They multiply. The deep heart truth. Here is what you must internalize. Jesus did not humble himself because he lacked power. He humbled himself precisely because he had it. That is the paradox of Philippians 2. He shows us that the greatest freedom is not in clinging, but in releasing. The greatest impact is not in grasping, but in giving. And that is true whether you are leading a company, a team, a family, or simply yourself. Humility is costly, but pride is far more expensive. Your next step. Take an honest look at where pride shows up in your life right now. Maybe it is in how you respond to criticism at work. Maybe it is in your marriage, where you hold back forgiveness until the other person earns it. Maybe it is in how you measure success, by titles, accolades, or attention. Now, imagine laying that down. Imagine leading with humility, serving with love, and letting God's example of Christ reset your inner compass. That is not just a religious idea. It is a human strategy for flourishing in every area of life. Because the truth is simple, but not easy. An example worth following is one that costs us pride, but gifts us freedom.